call the meeting to order. Ms. Burns, roll call.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Feather?
Here.
Mr. Allen?
Present.
Mrs. Bowman?
Here.
Ms. Boyle?
Here.
Ms. Hollenbeck?
Present.
Mr. Kovitz?
Here.
Mr. Marrington?
Here.
Mr. Parentano?
Present.
Quorum is present.
Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Neshaminy District mission, the Neshaminy community builds futures by empowering each child to become a productive citizen and a lifelong learner. Okay, I'll just call it.
Nobody's working.
Ms. Burns, any announcements?
No announcements.
Thank you.
I'll have to use my teacher voice.
This is by the side of the table.
Yeah, it's not ours. But it's just that side of the table. It's from here around.
Starting with Bob.
Sorry about Bob.
There you go. It's daisy chain. One goes like Christmas tree. You should be good.
Nope.
I'm not.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yep, good.
I'm good now. We're good.
The daisy chain worked.
I'm glad everybody's good.
Dr. McGee's like, what's going on? What's happening?
Superintendent's report?
Good evening, everyone. We had a very nice opportunity to recognize individuals right prior to our program here who provided different years of service to our district, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. We actually have an individual retiring from our district with 45 years of service this year out of Miller, Eleanor Stankovich. We thank her for her wonderful service. And I also do want to take the moment during my report here to recognize Linda Ratcliffe, who's sitting out here in the audience. Ms. Ratcliffe, wave. Oh, here she, we keep missing her.
She's eluding us.
Ms. Ratcliffe, who's walking in right now, missed our service because she was finishing her bus route, and I just wanted to make sure we publicly thanked her for her 15 years of service. Thank you so much. We have student artwork again on the walls here at the boardroom. This month, we have the students from the Herbert Hoover Elementary School. Art teacher Justin Burks provides them the inspiration, and we thank him and the students for helping us get a better feel for the work that elementary age students are doing in the area of art. Congratulations. I did include in my report, and we referenced it last month because it was just happening at that time, the fact that Mr. Stanley was able to secure some recognition for his video work here and the award recognition, as well as the recognition of our music program here at Neshaminy. So again, they were mentioned last month, but they're in the report formally just to document the fact that both of those pieces of recognition came into the district. Our high school jazz band was recognized by having the opportunity to perform at the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association's annual service conference in Lancaster. That just happened at the end of April. We congratulate them for that. We also had a group of students, our AVID students at the high school. It's a new program in 9th grade. It's called Advancement via Individual Determination. It's a group of students who are on a trek towards college and career success. And these students took a trip out to Bloomsburg University, had a wonderful time. We're able to meet with different individuals at the university, tour the campus, visit classrooms, see dorms. These are freshmen here at Neshaminy High School. It gives them a vision of what a college future could hold for them at a four-year college, going away to college. We thank Bloomsburg. They provided generously lunches for our students. And eating at Bloomsburg University or any college university is usually a fun experience because it's usually all you can eat at colleges, and kids like that. And that's one of the reasons why they want to go to college. And so it was a nice start for our freshmen to see that as part of that AVID program. We thank our AVID teachers. James and the Giant Peach will be performed in the Black Box Theater this week, May 9th, 10th, 11th at 7 p.m. On the 12th, Friday, if I'm keeping track. I'm sorry, 12th is Saturday. 12:30 is the matinee, and 7:30 is the evening show. We welcome you to attend. Always a wonderful performance. Our Envirothon students compete annually, and this year the Neshaminy High School team placed first. First place winners were Jason Facenda, Carolyn Angerer, Bill Angerer, Kiara Maribel, and Ashley Alexander. They are advised by Brian Suter. They had one of the highest scores recorded. I'm not sure if that's for us or ever, but in 14 years' time, it says it's one of the highest scores, and they now compete at the state competition. So congratulations for the work that they've done in class, and that is proven at the competition level. They go on to compete at Susquehanna University May 22nd and 23rd. Maple Point was connected with the Bucks County Tour of Honor in the fact that the veterans stopped by here to pick up 125 letters written by 8th grade students to be distributed at the next tour down to Washington, D.C. So it's nice for our students to maintain a connection with that work that is done here locally. And I know our high school also participates in that effort as well in our music and band program. Elementary school, Tawanka had a visit from Brittany Ship, NBC 10 meteorologist. She came to visit the school and talked to the students there in first grade. It was a wonderful opportunity for the students to culminate a learning activity around the subject of weather, and they had a great visit, and then later were referenced on the show the next day by the weather Miss Ship. Career Day was held at Tawanka and Pearlbuck Elementary School recently, just the past week. Miller Elementary School students were out practicing science by flying airplanes, paper airplanes, that is. Pequesson celebrated Earth Day with their club, the Middle School Environmental Club, going out on a weekend collecting in the Churchville Nature Center. The group removed over 25 pounds of garbage there. It was a nice weekend effort, another community service on the part of our students and our staff, connecting our kids to the larger surrounding community. We thank them. Similarly, another community effort was done at the high school. It was accomplished through what's now an annual Senior Citizens Ball. We had over 300 at the Senior Citizens Ball here at the high school. It was all decked out like a high school dance would have been back in the day. Our students were there. We had teacher advisors. Doc McGee was providing a video of the event. It was a wonderful evening and a great opportunity for cross-generational interaction. Nice opportunity for our Service Learning Club, advised by Kate Romano and Kelly McCauley, and the Student Council, advised by Mr. Richard Kane. Thank them. We thank them. And then finally, some We Build Future awards were handed out last month. The following recipients are people who help us accomplish our district mission to empower our students to become productive citizens and lifelong learners, and they are Gerald Gaines, he's a playground aide at the Buck Elementary School, Jennifer Gross, a teacher at Tawanka Elementary School, Seleke Sese, a bus driver in the transportation department, Sharon Marte, an English teacher at Pequesson, Paula Farr, an English teacher at Pequesson, and Kimberly Ross, teacher at Tawanka. We thank them and all the award winners because they are examples of a lot of good work that's happening all across the district. So we thank them. It was a wonderful opportunity to recognize them. And then finally, one last piece of recognition just the other day, Friday, Dr. Christine McKee, coordinator of our pre-K counts program, former teacher here, former principal, was recognized at the United Way of Bucks County for her community service, her dedication to education at their annual breakfast in Warminster. We congratulate Dr. McKee and thank her for her continued good work here at the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Tonight, we do have a presentation on the 2018-19 budget update, which will be presented by Mrs. Markowitz and Mr. Jones.
Good evening. This is what we reviewed at our April 3rd Business Operations Committee meeting. We felt it was move this a minute. We felt we did a lot of work on the budget to try to reduce what we had originally, and we felt it was a good budget that could be used. And we do meet with the Business Operations Committee meeting tomorrow night to review a few more items. This is just a review of the budget calendar. It's the last half of the year. The board reviewed and adopted the proposed preliminary budget and the preliminary budget in January and February. In April, as I mentioned before, we met with the Business Operations Committee meeting and to review the progress that we were making. In May, it does say the 14th, but the meeting is tomorrow to review the proposed final budget with the Business Operations Committee meeting, and the proposed final budget adoption is May 22nd. In June, if we need another Business Operations Committee meeting, we will review the final budget on June 11th and for adoption on June 19th. These are just some of the budget assumption highlights that we had. The PSERS rate, which is the retirement, is 33.43%. The Act 1 index for a maximum real estate tax increase is 2.4% at approximately $2,880,805. And originally, the state bus basic and special ed subsidies were assumed to remain flat until after we heard from the state on their budget, and it is a slight increase of $82,859. We just wanted to review the total budget history. As you can see, the percentages have decreased on the increase of the budgets. The 2018-19 preliminary budget is less than a 1% increase over the current year budget. Now, how did we get to the new figures that we have for our budget? The original gap was $8.1 million, and the last few years we've been using $2 million from the committed fund balance, which we will continue to use this time. Our goal is to start to decrease what we are using, so this way we can have it for future years. And the new gap is $6.1 million. At the April 3rd Business Operations Committee meeting, we did review all the detail of our reductions, and tonight I'm just going to review the basics of what was reduced. So facilities, we were able to reduce $338,000. Personnel, $1,146,836. Transportation, $139,053. Special education and alternative education, $222,736. Software technology, $50,866. Virtual Academy, Summer Pass, and Tech School. This is an increase of $93,757, which is basically from the tech school. We got new budget figures, so we did increase the budget. Bucks County Technical High School debt service reduction of $32,400. And on the next two items that I'm going to mention, the board spent a lot of time this budget year in trying to reduce costs, and we did an RFP. So we were able to, on life and disability, decrease $124,600, and on medical subscription, $600,000. So with all of these cuts and adjustments, we were able to decrease the budget by $2,560,734. Revenues, we were able to increase our revenues by $642,513. So after all of the cuts and the increase in revenues, the gap is now $2.9 million. I am going to hand it off to Mr. Jones.
I'm going to cover a few items just between here and the next set of slides with numbers on them. But the point here is this was what was presented at April 3rd's meeting. This is the cuts that we made and presented to the committee at April 3rd's timeframe. Tomorrow we'll have some opportunity to review these numbers. But the other things that were discussed at that time were, how do you close that gap? How do we close that $2.9 million gap? One option is it actually matches pretty closely to the opportunity, if chosen, to raise to the Act 1 tax. The Act 1 tax amount was 2.88, and so that amount of gap could be closed with a tax increase. The other option is to use fund balance. You'll see on a slide later that we've been utilizing fund balance pretty aggressively, and our goal has been to reduce and ultimately eliminate our reliance on fund balance so that we can have a budget that we can afford and pay for with the revenue that comes in year after year. And then the final option, what the board had indicated back at the budget assumption time, is, well, what if we didn't want to do any of that? What other cuts could be made to the budget? And as Mrs. Markowitz said, that we had pretty aggressively provided the board a budget that we thought was cut to the point where it could have been adopted back at that April 3rd meeting. We were pretty close, much closer than we've been in the past. But other ways to get to that 2.9, we presented options, at least in a slide. We said all of these would be difficult choices and not recommended necessarily at all by the administration. The committee at that time agreed that these would not be recommendations that they would care necessarily to pursue, though we are tomorrow going to look at one of those examples. We're going to pull out one and take a look at, well, what does it mean to take a look a little bit more at an option like this? And what does that impact, what is the impact to our academic program? So again, 3 options, but there was also some other things that we said to the board before we could get back to the numbers and the analysis of the budget, things that we might want to consider as additions above and beyond what was initially part of the budget. So some of those things included the concept of school resource officers. Was there an opportunity for us to do more in the area of school resource officers in our school buildings? The board had charged us to look into that. We already have a relationship with Middletown Township and a school resource officer that provides services to really all of our schools, specifically in the Middletown Township side of the district, and specifically at the high school. But the question was, could we look to Lower South, and would there maybe be opportunity to do even more with Middletown Township? So that was one item that we put as a future consideration that still had to be decided after our April meeting. In addition to that, a coordinator position for student affairs at Hoover, one of our larger elementary schools, was discussed, and some additional ESL teaching, English as a second language teaching. So that was an additional $482,000. We also said to the board, and the recommendation from the administration was that we have a capital projects list, a long-range facility plan that goes out multiple years to the tune of approximately 10 years, averaging $3.5 million each year in terms of projects such as roofing, parking lots, HVAC work, window replacement. And when you look at the projects that are on our long-range facility plan list, the amount of money that's in our regular budget, we have to see how much we can dedicate to those projects. Currently, the board this year put $900,000 towards those projects. That was an increase from $500,000. And so we're suggesting that this may be a year where we could look to actually bump that number up a little bit more, still nowhere near the $3.5 million worth of annual projects that we have. But that was another recommendation to consider. We also talked about some conversation around the idea of nursing at the private school, because that was a conversation that was had earlier here at the board level. So all of that happened back at the April meeting. And then we finished up the meeting with some slides that would show you what this all means and how this would look. And Mrs. Markowitz is going to show you what that is. And that's the end of our April 3rd look at the budget.
Okay, so if we took all the cuts and additions that we included in the path to the new budget, which I had mentioned, all of those cuts, and we used our PSERS fund balance, we would have a gap of $2.9 million. If we still used everything that I just said and some of the positions, some of the additions that Mr. Jones just mentioned, including security, coordinator position, ELD teaching time, and additional capital projects funding, we would still use our $2 million committed fund balance, but our gap would be $3.7 million.
Mrs. Markowitz, just for the public, what will be left in the Peasers Fund Reserve after we use the $2 million,
10 million.
10 million?
And then if we decide to use an Act 1 increase with all the other expenditure cuts that I mentioned before, we would also be using our $2 million fund balance. So basically our gap would be $879,963. That would be what we would use our unassigned fund balance for. And as you can see here, this is much less than what we have planned to use in previous budget years. Just to review the Peasers impact, as you can see, it's been $3.5 to $3 million that we had to use in the past 5 years. In the 18-19 budget, it's $910,665. Increase. So this is where we left off on April 3rd with the Business Operations Committee. Tomorrow night, we are going to basically review the transportation budget and the long-range facility plan. And as a reminder, all these numbers in this report are not exact, they are approximations. The proposed final budget will have exact numbers. Are there any questions?
Mrs. Markowitz, in our reduction in personnel that you quoted at 1.4 million, is that net of replacement hires?
Yes.
Okay, and that's, I assume that's their total package. It's just not salary, it's the total package. Okay. Now, what are, or do you know off the top of your head, I know Peasers has been revised. Is it the cap still 35%? It was 35.10, I think.
I believe it is still around 35%. It will probably be in the 30s for the next 20 years or so.
20 years or so. Okay. And we have 10 million left in the fund. We're using 2 million a year. And from your other slide, I know we allocated 5.2 million in this current year. You're estimating that our reserve is going to come in at 3.5 million from last year. On this, are you following me? Your last 3 slides where you go to new totals. Okay, I know that we allocated, I believe, 5.2 million in the 17-18 budget year. Your estimation is now that we're only going to use 3.5 million?
No, that's the budget. These are all figures of what we put in what we had in every budget.
But of the 5.2 that we allocated
Right.
for last year's
For this
deficit,
current year.
For this current year, are we going to use that full?
Maybe 2 million, 2.5 million, as what we can tell right now.
We'll use 2.5, so
So
the
we're
deficit was 2.5 and not 5.2. I think that's,
Right.
I'm not sorry to jump
plus,
in there,
but that's not counting for the 2 million for Peasers.
Correct.
Right, so it's still 4 point.
But the
whatever.
5.2 was net, I think.
Right. No, I thought the 5.2 was with the Peasers. Because I don't believe the whole thing was 7. It was 5.2 with the Peasers. So we're still carrying, continue to carry a structural deficit. Okay. All righty, I don't want to get into too much conversation tonight. I'm sure tomorrow we're going to have ample time to get into the weeds of the different issues.
All of these figures and things that we want to go over tomorrow with the nitty-gritty of the budget will be discussed tomorrow. It'll be a hooting and hollering event.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that brings us to the public comment section.
There's no public comment.
No, Mr. Rodas, no comment? Items for approval at the May board meeting will be 2.01, annual appointments for 2018-19, 2.02, appointment of the treasurer, 2.03, contracted services for 2018-2019, 2.04, miscellaneous services for 2018-2019, 2.05, Bucks County Technical High School Articles of Agreement, 2.06, the Bucks County Technical High School budget for 2018-19, 2.07, the Bucks County Intermediary Unit Special Education Contracted Services for 2018-19, 2.08, confidential settlement agreements, 2.09, acceptance of a donation, 2.10, first reading of the Board Policy Series 200. Some more. 2.11, bid approvals, 2.12, budget transfers, 2.13, the proposed final budget. Any comments, questions on any of that?
I have a question about our, I just missed it, I'm sorry.
They're not working. Microphones are not working.
His is.
Mine's on.
Mine is.
It's quicker than ours.
Yeah. I lost, now you made me lose my place, I'm sorry. On miscellaneous service fees, I haven't seen any documentation yet, but are we considering raising our facility usage fees at this time? Is there going to be a document for review? I don't see anything attached to this.
There
This
will be a
item.
document of what our current rates are, and we didn't think that we needed to increase it, but we can look at that and,
I'm not suggesting we do, I was just wanted the document for review. Thank
Yes.
you.
Wanted to pull out 2.05 because it's the individual that count. We have to vote on that.
Take an individual vote.
Well,
But we're not voting.
Not voting on it tonight?
Yeah, this is just
Just
a
a preview.
preview, yeah.
Well, that explains that even.
Yeah.
Well, when we have to vote for it. that's-
When we vote for it, we'll pull it out. Thank you.
That brings us to,
Committee reports, business operations, Mrs. Hollenbeck.
Was previously just stated, the next business operations meeting is tomorrow in this room at 6:30, and we will be reviewing the budget. I do want to stress that it is the proposed final budget that we're going to be voting on next week. It is not actually the final budget yet. While we've done a lot of work, there is still some conversation needed to be had, so come on out and join us. Thank you.
educational development
You're off,
and
Mark.
policy, it's off. Mrs. Wolf?
The policy committee is going to be held on the 29th, 6:30 in the boardroom. And we're going to be discussing the 900 series, which is community. And also policy number 214, which is class rank. The IU meeting is going to be on the 14th, but that's going to be a teleconference. And the educational development is going to be postponed until next year.
Thank you. Shem? Yeah. Neshaminy Education Foundation, Mr. Feather?
Speak loud.
Since it's not working. The Neshaminy Education Foundation will be meeting on Monday, May 14th at 4 p.m. at the district office in Maple Point. All are welcome to attend and contribute. This year, the foundation will be granting scholarships to 3 graduating Neshaminy High School seniors for $1,000 each. The applications have been submitted, and the recipients will be chosen at the next meeting. The Harlem Wizards game on Saturday, April 14th was a big success once again, with almost 900 tickets sold. The NEF would like to thank the many helpers that made this fundraising event possible, including our Neshaminy Dream Team. I talk loud. Under Coach Skip Mason, and Assistant Coach Bill Barnes, student volunteers coordinated by Susie Drake, Hugh Cooperman, who was our EMT volunteer for the game, site manager James Maloney, the Minithon team, who did a fantastic job helping to turn over Gym 3 following their own successful event that same afternoon. The Neshaminy High School girls soccer team, who operated the snack stand. The board of the NEF and their families, who helped with everything from ticket sales to golf cart shuttles. And the families of Neshaminy, who came out to enjoy a great night of show basketball and support the NEF. Sorry. The spring basketball raffle is underway. Tickets are $5 each and 3 for $10 and can be purchased at any school main office. 2 baskets will be raffled on May 19th, and each has over $250 of gift cards to local restaurants and activities. Finally, the NEF will be holding a Dining for Dollars fundraiser night at the Oxford Valley location of Bertucci's on Tuesday and Wednesday, May 15th and May 16th, for both lunch and dinner. 15 to 20% of the proceeds from that night will benefit the foundation. Please attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. PSBA liaison?
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. There will be a leadership conference sponsored by the PSBA at PSBA headquarters in the Harrisburg area. It is a weekend conference. If you wish to attend, you need to contact the Office of the Superintendent. And there is also lodging available as well, because it is a 2-day conference. As far as on the legislative front, it's all about budget right now. According to the latest information provided by the PSBA, the state's is currently running about $558 million below expected revenues for the year. Of course, that's not final. It won't be final until the end of June when they do their final tabulations. There is no indication, though, at this time that will affect any proposed educational funding, so that's good, but we all know what happens. Contact your legislature and express your concerns about House Bill 638. Traditionally, school boards have been viewed, and in my opinion, as far as I've been involved, operated on a bipartisan or nonpartisan basis. It's been over 70 years in the Pennsylvania state statute that school board members can run for election on either party. They don't have to declare a specific party like is coming up at this May 15th primary election. You can run Democrat, Republican, Independent. The new bill circulating is to make it so that school board members would have to declare a party. I think that's going to be terrible for the independents, and it's going to lead to partisanship by your school boards, and it's the last thing we want. So I would contact your legislatures and legislators, excuse me, and express your concern about House Bill 638. Other than that, there was one other item. They're having June 29th is the deadline for submitting any agenda issues that you would like the PSBA to take up on the behalf of individual school board members or the board as a whole. So you can submit them through the Office of the Superintendent, and they will get them to the proper personnel at the PSBA. If there's an issue that you're of concern of, just pass them along, and they'll get them on the PSA's agenda. Other than that, more to come, I assume. Thank you.
Mr. Allen, tax school?
Yes, actually, I don't have anything new since our last report, other than I just want to say again to the board members, please read over the articles of the tech board. I'm anxious to get that done before another voice pops up with a complaint. That's why I keep jumping the gun. I get it done. I know that the tech school placed a graduation date. I don't have it.
June 14th.
Thank you. And most of our last meeting, of course, was taken up with the Articles of Agreement. So it's really all I have tonight.
One final thing, a new committee has been formed for facilities and planning, and the first meeting will be next Wednesday night, May 16th, so it'll be here at, I guess, we set a time, 6:30? 6:30 in this room, so if you want to come in and hear about facilities and planning, or have some ideas, please come out. All right. We're now at the second round of public comment. Anyone who wants to speak, please approach the podium. Your name, address, where you live, and your occupation, please.
Good evening. My name is Connie Esmond. I live in Langhorne. I am a taxpayer, and I am a full-time bus aide at Neshaminy. This is Miss Sue Monreal. She's also a bus aide at Neshaminy. We both have our bags. Some of you were there when I received my 15 years of work here at Neshaminy, and Miss Sue has 25 years. Most of our time, for me and I'm sure with her, has been doing a bus aide. Our jobs, even though are sitting on a bus, these children, our special needs children in the district, are the most vulnerable. And I would encourage any of you to come sit on a bus for special needs children just for one whole day. And you will see that they need to have the knowledge that the person there knows them, and they need to know that they're going to be secure, and they need to have that same routine. If you are going to tell us that your job is not that important and we're going to dock your pay because we don't want you to come in and work what we feel we're worth, you're going to cut our pay by $7 for the summer. A job that is going to be an 80-hour job for the entire summer, 4 weeks. That's all. So not only for us, but for the children, I implore you to please reconsider this position and how much you are going to pay the summer help for bus aides. The children, if anything else, please think of them, because some of these kids are on a bus for 45 minutes, some an hour. That's a long time to have someone that knows nothing about them. So please, we beg you to reconsider your plans. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone have any future topics?
I just wanted to follow up on a future topic. I had asked for a report for food services, and I wanted to make sure that that got put on the agenda before the next school year so that we have the information if there's anything that we need to. Thank you.
Last year, we did a food services update towards the back end of the year, and then again, they came back in August, and they kind of gave the full recap. Would August work again for us as a time frame?
I mean, August is fine with me. I just want to see where we ended up this year and what we can do to improve on some issues that I've been hearing about before the school year starts or right in the beginning of the school year. So August is fine with me. I just don't want it to get lost in the shuffle.
Right.
I would also like to include that the last report that we received, we had some concerns from employees and people that work for the district with regard to Aramark and the management not necessarily listening to concerns from the people that are in our district working for them. So we had some concerns there. I would like to follow up on those concerns to see if management is actually working with them to make sure that we are moving forward and not necessarily moving backwards and treating people in a disrespectful way, which is what the concerns were when they were presented.
We'll be sure to include a comprehensive look, including the concern and an update from them with regard to what they've been doing.
And I guess along with food services, I know there was some confusion last year on the definition of what a guarantee was. So when they come in to pay our guarantee, if they can clear up what a guarantee is, I always thought a guarantee was what they guaranteed you up front, but I learned differently last year, so it was definitely an educational process. So if they can clear that up this year, it'd be great.
And it was, as we relive last year's presentation, there was some confusion with respect to that. At the time of the presentation, there was some clarity provided after the fact, but we'll be sure to have that as part of the presentation. It's part of the end of the year recap, and we'll be able to be sure that they provide that in a fashion that makes that guarantee understood.
To add to Mrs. Hollenbach's request, I'm just afraid that if you wait till August, you may, not be able to get some things in for the start of the school year. While I know to get a complete picture, we need August, but my concerns are, if they've been doing the surveys, that they're keeping up on changing the menus more regularly, or how they're adjusting it, and that way, I don't know if something can be done in June that we can, get some basis for that to make sure that, we're getting a review going into the beginning of the new school year. I understand August for financials, but I just a little concerned, that don't wait too long before we give them direction.
How about we come to the Business Operations Committee meeting tomorrow night with some recommendation with regard to how we can handle all those requests? Okay? Thanks.
One more thing I would like to ask that we look into moving forward. The last report for the move of the 5th grade students up into the middle school was a while ago. And the last report that we received from the IU, who actually followed that, has been quite some time. I would like to follow up and have some kind of a report regarding our 5th grade students and how they're doing, and where we're moving, and how that is progressing from the 2 years ago up into this point, and how things are going with them now.
Bob, if you look back, we did have some information at the education meeting about how our 5th graders did in the testing piece of it, in one of the, I forget which agenda it was. I'm just saying, so that, there is some information that we did get.
How long ago was that? And
It was recent.
oh, I didn't see that. I apologize. I must have missed it. That's only testing now.
Yeah, it was only for the education piece of it and the testing part of it and how they compared to their grades.
All right.
But, there was some information about that.
Yeah, and the IU piece of it, is not perpetual. It wasn't designed for them to do it every year forever. I don't know where we're at in that process. I think it's actually ended. Right, I thought we had a final report.
Let me just jump in and say, I think that an update is reasonable. I think an overview of the status of the 5th grade in the move, it's now been 2 full years. I think it'd be a good thing to do. We can work with our education committee chairperson and that group to determine exactly how and what form that can take. But we'd be glad to do that. I think it's appropriate for us to do. We can give you an internal assessment and go from there. Okay?
But on the, just
Thank
for
you.
clarity, on the IU portion, we're final, right? That's finished. Okay, all right. So we're going to do an internal review. That's fine.
My intention was not just the IU. I wanted to get a full assessment moving forward. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure we were done with that.
We're not adding to the budget.
Right.
There's just the general information, that's all.
Right. Overall. Thank you. Yes.
That brings us to the board comment section. Any board comments? Cindy?
I just wanted to congratulate the Pequesing Select Choir, led by Mr. Jason Lee. They performed in the Aka Tama Jam at Central Bucks. This was the first year that Mr. Lee took the Select Choir to this competition. It's strictly an a cappella competition. And the group went away with 2 group awards and 2 individual awards. So overall, we won 4 awards at the Aka Tama Jam. This is a competition that's held by audition It's for Bucks County a cappella groups, and we hope to go back next year. So congratulations to the Pequessing Select Choir. Also wanted to give a shout out and congratulations to Katie Turner for making it into the top 7 on American Idol. Sadly, her competition ended on Sunday. However, she was picked to perform in the national tour for American Idol. So she will join them after the competition to go on tour with them nationally. And I think we can all say we're very proud how she brought the community together and how she presented herself as a Neshaminy student and a member of our community. And congratulations out of all those people, and she made it top 7. So great job.
Thank you, Cindy. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. Speaking of the select choir, I want to thank the high school select choir under the direction of Ms. Kristen Nichols. I think that was wonderful.
They were amazing.
They're an amazing group.
They were amazing.
I really want to. They performed before the Long Service Awards and Retirees Recognition Program, and I was impressed. Great job. And speaking of that, I also want to thank everyone, first, who put that together. I think it's important that we recognize our personnel for all the work they do. And the years of service, I just can't imagine. 35 years, in some cases, I don't see we don't have anybody 40 this year, but we have had in the past, and I just think it's phenomenal. Just want to thank everyone for coming out and my deep appreciation for all that you do for the district. Thank you.
Mr. Furtana.
Thank you, sir.
I also would like to congratulate all the recipients of the service awards, and a thank you to our retirees for their years of service in Neshaminy. It's greatly appreciated, and as John mentioned, usually I try to make it every year. I couldn't make it this year, but it's always a great ceremony, and it's always something to look forward to. And I hope everybody enjoyed it and their cookies afterwards. I look forward to tomorrow's budget meeting. I tend to be, as nobody will be surprised, a bit more pessimistic on the budgeting process than most. Living through the lean times and the good times, lean times will repeat themselves if you're not careful. I'm very concerned about the structural deficit part, very concerned about where the growth areas are. I'm very concerned about where we're going to be able to add new programming or revise programming while maintaining the type of programs that we currently have. We will never, ever be able to build a reserve like was built before. That's not going to happen. You have $10 million more in the budget for pension than you had in 2010. Actual dollars, net dollars. That's how much more. Imagine what we could do yearly with $10 million in our budget. So while we may have to strike a balance, between the burden we put on our taxpayers or using what reserves we have left, we need to be cautioned that we don't run out. Looking at the long-term, long-range facility planning, and I know we'll get into that more at our facilities meeting, the roofing costs alone going forward are staggering. When you look at the plan for the high school alone, and we're not going to talk about the high school as far as what we could have had, but there were 31 different roof sections at the high school. Lost it. See that?
At the Oscars, they play music. They play all the Oscars.
They said, "Oh, Steve's talking."
Called divine intervention.
Divine intervention. So we need to be extremely cautious.
Yeah.
Go on. Thank you. Who did that? Who did that?
I think Irene did it. It came back. Oh. No, it's off. It's off.
I'm
It's
good.
off.
I'm fine.
It's
I'm
off.
fine.
It's not working.
Nah, mine's working again. But don't worry about it.
We'll cover it tomorrow.
I know, but
I would just like to say thank you for bringing your concerns, again, to the board. Unfortunately, dollars always come up and we have to make tough decisions. I think that we should absolutely consider the fact that we need people that know our special needs students and should be there with them and for them all the time. So it is something that we will be considering and talking about as we move forward. And again, unfortunately and sadly, it comes down to dollars, and I don't know what else to say besides that.
It's fine. You know, the parents will be the ones to,
I know. Just thank you.
Anyone else? I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Meeting's closed.
Can you
I'm not
pass
even
that down
asking.
to Barbara?